being a woman in Ukraine. Today we're going to talk about what it means working, living, and being part of society. Is it any different than being a man? But let's be practical. The first thing a woman ever wants to know when she travels somewhere is it safe? The simple answer is yes. Ukraine is safe. And here in Kyiv, I've always felt safe after dark or in a crowded metro. But more about that later. Let's go take a look around now. This is St. Michael's Square, and behind me is Princess Olga. She's a legend, a saint, a woman who avenged her husband's death and ruled here until her son came of age. Princess Olga's baptism was considered one of the first steps bringing Ukraine to Christianity. Her official title is Saint Olga, equal to the apostles. Now, in Ukraine, do you have to be a saint to be considered equal to sit around a table with a bunch of guys? I don't know. Look at the Ukrainian cabinet.
Calm down. What are you doing? And don't yell like that. I'm offering you a role in this play.
This is actually the perfect place to start a discussion about women in Ukrainian society. Of course, we have Princess Olga here, but we also have St. Michael's Golden Domed Monastery. And on this square is where conservative groups like to meet to push traditional family values. And Olga is sometimes used as an ideal for the perfect conservative woman. Just steps from the square is a wall of remembrance. It's a place where Ukraine's thousands of soldiers, men and women, can be remembered who have died since 2014 in Ukraine's proxy war with Russia. All heard about how beautiful Ukrainian women are, and this narrative is pushed over and over again. And Ukrainian women do have every right to be proud in their looks, but oftentimes they're only reduced to just this. In July 2019, President Volodymyr Zelensky visited Paris, and he listed Ukrainian women as one of Ukraine's highlights, right along with the food and the scenic landscape.
It's very pretty in Ukraine, very delicious, and has very attractive people, especially the women. Yes, that's a fact, and it's our brand.
He made more than 52% of the population part of the country's marketing. And Zelensky isn't the first politician to have done this. Many seem to think they're paying a compliment, but comments about Ukrainian women being objects of desire isn't making Ukraine a safer place. It's estimated that since 1991, over 200,000 Ukrainians have become victims of human trafficking. Most of them, women. From where I'm sitting now, I can see the foreign ministry. Lots of people in Ukraine say that decisions about Ukraine and its foreign policy are made by other people. This is also a good metaphor for how Ukrainian women should feel. Women in Ukraine have salaries that are 30% less than their male counterparts. 80% of Ukrainians think women's most important role is still at home. And only 22% of the parliament seats belong to female MPs, who represent over 28 million Ukrainian women and girls. The reason for this? Patriarchal attitudes and stereotypes. And systemic gaps that aren't being addressed. This is Maidan Square. It's just down the hill from Olga's statue, and in 2014, this place looked very different. This was the main stage for the revolution that ousted Viktor Yanukovych and reset Ukraine's political compass. In late 2013, when Ukrainians were fed up, men and women came here and spent months working for Ukraine they all hoped would be better. Right now in Minsk, political commentators are drawing connections between Ukraine's Revolution of Dignity, which happened here, and the protests there. For this conversation, the fact that in Belarus, women are using patriarchy as a means to achieve political goals is worth mentioning. Belarus has a similar cultural framework to Ukraine, and female opposition leaders benefited early on from simply not being taken seriously. Lukashenko did not want to admit that women could shake his political foundation, and their movement gained momentum. Girls and women are relying on the same attitudes that have hurt them in the past to protect them now. The idea that women are weak.
Our Constitution isn't designed for women, and our society hasn't developed to the point where they would vote for a woman, because, according to our Constitution, the president possesses strong authority.
Unlike in Belarus, here security forces came out violent and hard right away. So the women were not at the front line of Ukraine's early protests. Women were working behind the scenes, forming supply lines and doing other important jobs. There was and is an understanding that women should be kept out of harm's way. But behind closed doors here in Ukraine, there's another problem. The problem is domestic abuse. Ukrainians are private people, and there's a mindset here that speaking about problems at home, like violence against women, is like airing dirty laundry. But if no one speaks up, it remains an individual problem, not one that society can take on. And although I said that Ukraine was a safe place, once women have problems, pleas for help are sometimes ignored. Ukrainians can be described as the masters of minding their own business. So if a woman needs help in a public place, people might not respond how you'd hope. Let's go from Maidan up to the government quarter. It's an uphill walk, just like the battle for equality is all uphill. We're here at the Verkhovna Rada, where Ukraine's laws are made. Remember Saint Olga? Her story is often thought of as a feminist story. The Kiev women's marches often start near her statue. But conservative women's groups were founded in 2017, and they use the name the Sisterhood of Olga. They think that feminism needs to be knocked out of a person because it's been forced on them. The idea that gender equality is an outside idea, foreign to the culture of Ukraine, has caused the vocabulary of equality to literally get lost in translation. The Istanbul Convention is an understanding that violence against women is the form of gender-based violence, and states need to protect all of their citizens. In 2011, Ukraine was one of the original signatories, but in 2020, lawmakers still haven't ratified it. Some say the word gender in the convention opens the door for a broader understanding of sexual identity that some lawmakers are not willing to accept. Well, politicians are reluctant to create legislation that makes women safer or create structures to implement laws. Women soldiers are literally protecting them on the front lines. In the Donbass, since the proxy war with Russia began in 2014. There are over 20% of women on the front line, and despite their numbers and their contributions, they don't get equal recognition. The national holiday for the military, known as Defenders Day, is still seen as a festival for fathers, husbands, and sons. Less pay here, little or no recognition there. Discrimination is experienced in small ways, but it affects all of society. When women are given equal chances, it's better for the country. GDP goes up, economies prosper, and women in political leadership roles find solutions quicker and with less violence. As long as leaders aren't willing to be good examples, Ukraine's women will continue to be a brand. And there are plenty of good role models right now at hand. Now, 4 of the G7's top representatives in Ukraine are women. President Zelensky and his advisors sit across the table from female ambassadors from Germany, Canada, the UK, and the US quite a bit. So is Ukraine really worse off in terms of gender equality? The less pay and fewer chances are familiar hurdles all over the world. Besides the attitude and stereotypes here, there's a lack of political will which prevents meaningful change. What makes things worse here is the conflict in the East. There's a socioeconomic crisis that makes challenges for women greater and creates new problems. Women's human rights are being violated. There's more gender discrimination, women's poverty, and added security risks. My last stop is here so we could get a look at the Motherland Statue. Locals say that she was built to be higher than the Statue of Liberty, but the tip of her sword was shortened so she wouldn't be higher than the Orthodox monastery not far from here. The statue of a woman that was created to be better than others, but kept in check by patriarchy, a fitting way to end the strong, devoted, silent mother. But remember, strong mothers raise strong daughters. By not giving Ukrainian women the same chance as Ukrainian men have, they're stifling their own economy, especially if they think they have to do it in shoes like this. Do you agree with what I said about gender in Ukraine or not? Let us know. Comment. I'm lurking there. Don't forget to like and subscribe so we can keep you up to date on what's going on in Ukraine from Ukraine.